All right, everybody, good morning and happy Thursday. I gotta say, I started out extremely happy with this morning, but I'm ending the morning a little bit frustrated. I'm gonna walk down exactly how I caught QCLS for this massive play out of market open. Where I actually caught this thing from the mid fives all the way up to almost $7 a share. It was a really, really fun one today, but I gotta say, I left a lot of money on the table. I didn't really trade it as well as I should have. And so I want to be honest with y'all, and I want to walk you through exactly what happened and how I'm going to adapt and improve into the rest of the week. Now, the week so far has been amazing. I'll walk you through real quick exactly how that's looked so far. Now, today was not too bad, but looking back at yesterday, 100% win rate day yesterday. The day before, again, just kept on stepping up higher and did fairly well. And again on Monday, did extremely well. And Friday, we had the massive win on SMX. And so we have been doing extremely well recently. But today, I'm just not entirely happy with my performance. It just didn't really feel in control. And it's a bad feeling. And all through here, I felt like I was in control because this thing was a massive play, kind of about $1 a share on this from the 560 to the 640s. This was absurd. And so let's go and break it all down together and see exactly sort of what we were looking at here, because definitely one that's going to be jam-packed with information. So make sure to watch the full video because it could help you out for tomorrow based on the current cycle that we're sort of flipping back and forth in. So today in the market open, I was watching three setups primarily. I was watching PLRZ, PMI, and QCLS. So I've got some nice profits on QCLS, but not so much on PLRZ. Let's see what happened. So to start with this here, we go in the market open on QCLS, and this thing looked pretty good based on, of course, yesterday's move. This thing made about a 200% move yesterday, and you come out of the bell, and this thing puts in place a really nice look. And so we have this high. Look at this. We have this double top high put off here, confirming this area of range to the upside. Let me make this a little bit more obvious to see. Cool. All right, and so then we have next. We got these higher lows going up into the bell. And so I'm looking for a potential pivot here. If price was to look at this, price breaks here over the highs. And so we get going up into the highs there. And I'm just so irritated at this point because it's like I start the day. This is my first trade of the morning. First trade of the morning was a red trade, albeit extremely small red, but still, it was a quarter of an R loss. And so I was able to get some trims. I'll show you here when we get zoomed in. I was able to get some trims because it did try to go, but then it faked out and it was a knife. So look at this. We have these wicks off the highs here formed from pre-market back here, right? And so I'm looking to see if we can't get a bit of a pivot to happen here. And so I'm looking here as this being an area of supply. We see price break above in a strong way. Now all through here, a wick off the high. And so I'm not taking it at all through here because of course we know we have this overhead area of supply, right? And so in knowing that, I'm not going to take an entry into this area of supply because this thing can quickly get knifing back down into the lows. And so left that all alone there, again, based off the wicks off the highs. And so what I look for here is for price to break out. It pulls back, and I take a pretty aggressive pullback entry there for the extension higher. And of course, I get no extension higher, but looking back, I wouldn't have taken a different setup here. I actually am very happy with what I took. And it tried to follow through. You can see here it tries to follow through. I'm able to get some trimmed up into the highs, and then I take a full exit here on the rejection. It is what it is. It's just how it is sometimes. And so honestly, I think starting the day with this trade that just didn't really give me any resolution, I think this is sort of why the day went how it did. And you'll see what I mean by that. Because from here, I'm sort of starting the day with a little bit of red. And so then I go over to QCLS. So now I look at this, and this was, of course, on our list as well to watch this today over 6 or watching for, look at this, over 6 with the dips off 550. And so I was watching this pretty intently here going into the bell. And so the way that I was watching this was really going to be over the highs. Watching it over the 6s here for the pullbacks over 550. I wasn't initially planning to play this so low like I did way down here. But the reason why I did is look at this here. So we have this sort of tightening wedge put into place here going in the market open. It tries to break out. And of course, not chasing that first candle to the upside, right? You don't want to go get faked out. But price pulls back. And we see price respect off the 50 moving average, putting in place this rounded higher low bottom. And so as it continues to put in place these higher lows, I nailed the entry here, risking off of the 50 moving average to see if we couldn't get squeezing back up into these highs. No, we did. And so very happy with that because I only had about right around 20 cents a share of risk. I had a 560 entry, risk of 540, risk 20 cents, and I got almost $1 a share move here. Now, as this thing starts getting squeezing here, we have this, of course, the break of this wedge here after the open as well, as you can see right here. It took the entry on the breakout to get that squeeze higher. And with that, it comes down, grabs liquidity, and then it starts to go, and I'm able to take some profits out over the highs. Now, as it extends higher and starts to confirm the upside direction, of course, I then raise my stop loss to my entry to make sure this move just continues in our direction. And so price moves higher, rejects off this, again, previous high of day, and from here, it's just a matter of just riding the structure of the move. And so what we know based off of its earlier trend, so far, it has respected off the moving averages pretty much all morning so far. And you can see here these higher lows stacked off the 50 moving average. And of course, I'm not going to allow price to retrace all the way back to the 50, but I did use the 20 moving average here to trail my stops based on the structure of the move. And so, again, we noticed that price respecting well off the 20 moving average. And so I'm just riding this higher. Now, of course, as price does extend, like here, for example, where price breaks up through this high of day and structure flips, right, this is a change in structure happens right here on the break of this high of day. As that happens, and I want that to be maintained, I then raise my stop loss here to make sure that this change in structure, this breakout, does maintain and is continued. So I'll raise my stop loss there to ensure that does continue higher. And again, pretty happy with how I capitalized here, able to actually play this all the way up into these highs until I eventually was stopped out here on the break at the 1 minute low, right on here. So overall, this was a play from the 560s to the 640s. Again, extremely happy with this to start the morning, but that is pretty much where the fun stopped. Now, when I say the fun stopped, I don't mean that it was a terrible day, or more so mean it was just I didn't feel in control, is really what it comes down to. Now, over the last couple of weeks, you're looking back at October, at November, where for breakouts, they have been the last choice for any type of opportunity. You know, I would not touch a breakout with a 10-foot pole the last few weeks, but today, I wish I had more cojones because it worked out, but I missed most of the move. Now, we are seeing the market heat up, thankfully, but that is a cause for adapting. And so we're going to talk about that more as this video gets to an end as well. And so I take this first pullback here off of the 20 moving average. All right. And so we see it trying to break out higher here. Look at this. It pulls back off the 20, breaks out higher, or tries to. And what I want to see is, of course, based on the current market or the past market, the recent market, I should say, these things, once they fake out, it's done. It's going to go knifing through the floor. So I haven't been keeping that big time frame focus. I've been focusing more on these smaller time frames, 1 minute time frame focus. That way we can keep stops tighter because the thing I talked about in the stream this morning too, with the lack of opportunity, the lack of follow through in a colder market, that risk to reward also takes a beating. And so the only way around that is to keep tighter stops so I can take more size. And of course, that risk to reward can sort of balance itself back out. And so in a cold market, that's all fine and dandy because there's not really much to capitalize on. And of course, I want to keep the best risk to reward I can. And so I've got to manage how I can. I've got to manage to keep things green. And so did what I had to do in a colder market. And that was all fine. And that worked and kept us above water in a colder market to keep us in the green. But as things are heating up, we've got to sort of try to adapt and learn, what's working and what's not. The biggest thing to learn from this is the biggest trade of the morning is the one that I gave the most room to, right? The one that I let breathe with a bigger time frame focus. All of these smaller re-entries, again, the issue is the fact that I'm not giving it enough room. I'm focusing too much on this 1 minute time frame. I'm getting faked out by action like this where it tries to break out. It instantly rejects it. I take a full exit thinking it's going to fake out lower, and then it makes a move higher. So then again, it reclaims. I try to take a pullback here off the 20 moving average for a curl back higher because it has respected the 20 all day. So I take it there off the 20, look for the move higher. Now this is sort of odd right here. I've got a very small win. And so what happens here is it knifes to VWAP, which at that point, I don't play this because we see here we're trying to put in place these higher lows, which I was wanting to hold here for the breakout. And so that's why I was taking these pullbacks where I was off the 20 moving average, trying to see if this thing can get squeezing up higher. It looked amazing. And man, if it would have, I would have been so, today would have been amazing. But look at this. It fakes out, grabs liquidity off of VWAP, then reclaims. Then I take the pullback entry. I get some trims. It then breaks out higher, and I try to add on the pullback, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But again, keeping stops a little bit too tight because the big problem for me is breakouts have not been working the last couple of months. And so I've been a little bit hesitant to take breakouts, but I loved it. It was a good setup. I took the breakout. And looking back, man, I kept stops way too tight. So you can see what happened here. Stop my ads out, which unfortunately pretty much netted this pretty much as flat because I have the initial entry down here. I get the move. I get an add on the pullback. I get stopped. So all of these three here, I'm not really happy with. Of course, I've got a break even here. It's just extremely annoying. And so all of this here, thankfully I had this initial play because all of this three here, I was just not, just irritated. Gets going through the high of day, pulls back off the 20 moving average. I'm going to take a pullback here, sold up into strength, took a pullback here, and of course got the next curl. And I was like, all right, so the issue here is not so much I guess it was trading a little bit funky, but the issue here is I'm just not keeping my setups wide enough. I would rather in this market take less size with wider stops, give things more room to move, and I'll make a whole lot more money with a whole lot less stress. So that's what I tried to do here. Is I gave some cushion to my smaller time frames. I just sort of loosened up my focus a little bit and shifted my focus more over to the larger time frames like the 5 minute time frame. And so in doing that, I was able to snag a couple of nice trades here. You can even see took the pullback again off the 20 moving average right here, and I got a nice move here. It actually popped. Look at this. So I got a nice move there, but it happened so quickly. I didn't really get any good trims up into this range, and so overall, I was out full here in the 750s. So 720s and 750s, a little easy play there off the 5-minute pullback. So that's really what I've got to take home from today. Is I'm so happy with this week so far. Yesterday was amazing, 100% win rate day yesterday. It's been an amazing week, but today I'm just not entirely happy with. But I'm a perfectionist. I like being in control. I like knowing that I'm in control. I like trading predictable price action. I like stress-free price action. And what we're seeing is these big picture moves that sure I capitalized some on, but I left a whole lot of money on the table all through here. You should have been able to capitalize on this leg here quite easily. I took the right entry, but I had too tight of stops, and I was a little bit too risk averse. So this should have been capitalized on. This should have been capitalized on more, which I did capitalize on, but should have been capitalized on more, which I would have been able to capitalize on it more if I had more profit cushion from this move here. So, hey, it is what it is. Every day's not going to be perfect. We are human after all, but that is the focus for the rest of the week. So, bigger emphasis on larger time frame focus as things do heat up. Things are heating up, though, which is an amazing thing. All in all, it is still an amazing green week, but that is what I'll be working on the rest of this week and the rest of this month. So, that being said, if you did learn a thing or two from this video, make sure to subscribe for daily content just like this. And of course, make sure to claim your 7-day free trial to watch me trade stocks just like these in real time every single day and adapt to the ever-changing market as we finally enter another hot cycle. All that being said as well, let me know in the comments below what you traded today, what you could have done differently today, and how you'll adapt it to the rest of this trading week. And of course, past all that, I will see you back tomorrow.